Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, a piece of news that I feel like just flew under the radar for a lot of Michigan fans, kind of the nature of how busy this Michigan offseason has been, was Maryland linebacker Jaishawn Barham transferring to Michigan. And Michigan fans are awfully familiar with Jaishawn Barham. I feel like he's played his best football against Michigan the last couple of years. And you talk about a linebacker that if you wanted to make in a laboratory and then kind of spit out an image, that's probably what Jaishawn Barham looks like, right? 6'4", 235 pounds, phenomenal range in sideline to sideline speed, but a guy that can get after the passer as well. And if you're asking me what I'm most excited for with Jaishawn Barham is how Wink Martindale uses one of the best blitzing linebackers that we've seen across the country. I think Jaishawn Barham fits like a glove in this Michigan defense, and a guy that is only going into year 3. And I think Ernest Hausman, Jaishawn Barham are two linebackers that have massive upside heading into 2024. Want to dive into the film of Jaishawn Barham, take a look at what he brings to this Michigan defense. Really excited to get into it. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and a massive shout out to the Michigan fans. Many of you guys know the boys are massive Michigan fans. It truly has been a blast talking this program, whether it's the coaching moves, whether it's the recruiting trail. Can't thank you guys enough for rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And Dill, the next film deep dive, Kenny Grant, Mason Graham. Cannot wait to get into that one. But I'm going to tee you up here. Jaishawn Barham coming to Michigan. How we feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no doubt it's a really, really good fit in terms of what Wink Martindale wants to do. I mean, they want to walk guys up to the line of scrimmage, especially on those later downs, and provide sort of that option to either drop them or let them come. And I think for a couple of years now, Michigan's probably been in a bit of a situation where they've had linebackers who can blitz and defensive ends who can kind of win their one-on-one matchups. But I don't think you've seen the hybrid that you have in Jaishawn Barham, where he can really blitz. He can really just win straight up one-on-one matchups, and then he can drop into coverage and be pretty solid. And that's probably the one place you want to see a little more of as he comes into Michigan and be a little tighter in coverage. But I mean, that type of hybrid ability he has is kind of, I think, what Michigan's been looking for.
Yeah, he's a defensive chess piece. And I look at the pass rush ability first, and we're going to dive into the film of how the different ways Jaishawn Barham is able to manufacture pressure. But that was a massive part of Michigan's defense last year. You take a look at a guy like Mikey Barrett, who had a phenomenal feel for getting after the quarterback. You take a look, Mikey Barrett, 24% pass rush win rate, 16 quarterback hurries. You take a look at Jaishawn Barham at Maryland last year with by far not as good of a defensive line that Mikey Barrett was playing behind. Jaishawn Barham, 15 quarterback hurries, a 23% pass rush win rate. You could tell me Jaishawn Barham was an edge rusher, and I would believe you, right? 6'4", almost 240 pounds. He can win one-on-one. He can close the distance extremely well, blitzing those A and B gaps. But Dill, where I want to start is just how good of a traditional off-ball linebacker he is. And for me, I think it starts with the range that he has. And you turn on the film here, Jaishawn Barham playing kind of that backside linebacker. And what's one of the most important things you need your linebackers to do in the modern day of college football, and that is go sideline to sideline. Teams want to get on the perimeter, and when you have linebackers that can pick through the trash, get to the sideline, that's massive. And Jaishawn Barham at 6'4", 235 pounds certainly has that range that you're looking for. You fire up the film right here, Jaishawn Barham coming from the backside of this play, picking through the trash. You see the long speed that he has, and he finds the ball carrier. And you take a look, this is really all over the film. You take a look at against Michigan, and I'd ask Michigan fans, how many times did we see Trevor Keegan work up to the second level and put a linebacker into the turf? Jaishawn Barham was phenomenal in this game, and I think largely because of the athleticism that he has, right? Playing again to the backside of that formation. How many times do we see Trevor Keegan work up to these linebackers and get a helmet on a helmet? Almost every single time. Was one of the best offensive guards that we saw in the country last year. Jaishawn Barham, too athletic, beats him to the spot, sideline to sideline speed to go get Donovan Edwards. Dill, I think it starts with the athleticism that he has for his size. Truly special at that linebacker spot.
And that's the thing. I feel like there might be you might start hearing those calls like, oh, can we get this guy in the edge? Let him rush the pass a little more. I mean, at the end of the day, he's such a good pure linebacker. that's where he should be playing. I think that's where you get the best chance to use him most effectively. And I don't think you want, like, again, does he have the ability to win one-on-ones probably more effectively than Michigan's seen in a really long time at that linebacker spot? Yeah, but Michigan, A, really good defensive line, and B, Jaishawn Barham's just straight up too good of an off-ball linebacker to not use him there.
And you'll see at times, and we're going to get to that piece of the film, you're going to see Jaishawn Barham come off the edge as almost just like an edge rusher and win pretty routinely. Though the second thing that stands out to me, we just saw Jaishawn Barham win with athleticism and kind of just beating offensive linemen to the spot. The second thing that you see is you can't forget, I mean, he moves like he's a little bit smaller, but this is a linebacker that is 6'4", almost 240 pounds. Dill, you see him right here lined up as an edge rusher right here, and he's going to take on A.J. Barner. And again, Michigan fans know how good A.J. Barner was in the run game at blocking. You see Jaishawn Barham just shock A.J. Barner with his hands, get off a block, and go make a play on 3rd and 2. I mean, puts his hands right into A.J. Barner, works through 2 blocks, Colston Loveland coming around for a kick out, and ends up making a play. The power, the length that he has in those arms, truly impressive. Dale, this is probably my favorite rep that you saw of Jaishawn Barham, right? We talk about the athleticism. We talk about the range. How many times do you see linebackers really just get stonewalled by offensive linemen who are working up to the second level? Jaishawn Barham doesn't, right? Again, working at that traditional off-ball linebacker spot, you fire up the film, you're going to get one-on-one block. Jaishawn Barham's going to have to stack, shed this block, and what does he do? Exactly that. Absolutely moves that offensive lineman off him, finds the ball carrier, makes a play. The power that he has in his hands to complement the range that we just talked about, truly special and something that really does fire me up about Jaishawn Barham.
And that's it. I mean, combining the length with the range. I mean, you don't just see him getting his arms on guys and not being able to like do much with it. I mean, when he gets his hands on guys, like he's got that guy on one foot hopping back. I mean, that's like the type of power you want to see. And again, a lot of linebackers, everyone knows, oh, I want to get hands on when the lineman comes up to me. But if you don't do it with some authority and you can't get your extend guys, it all doesn't matter. I mean, you just kind of see that really high level play at that off-ball linebacker spot, especially dealing with a lot of free offensive linemen who kind of get up quicker than they probably would at Michigan, where you got to go deal with Mason Graham and Kenny Grant before you go deal with Barham.
That's one of the things that excites me most about both Jaishawn Barham and Ernest Houndsman is you're talking about 2 juiced up linebackers that are extremely explosive, and they're going to be able to play free. You take a look at why those Georgia linebackers were so good in 2021. Well, I think a large part of it is not only were they very good linebackers, right? Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, Channing Tindall, they were playing in behind of probably the best defensive line that we've seen in college football in a long time with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. Michigan's going to have that similar defensive line. And so you're talking about 2 linebackers that are hyper athletes playing behind one of the most, if not the most dominant defensive line that we see in college football. Now, Bill, getting to that last point that you made. And again, I said this at the top. If you told me Jaishawn Barham was an outside linebacker that kind of blitzed off the edge with the length, with the size that he has, I would certainly believe you. And you see it on the film. This is a guy that looks like an edge rusher at times. 3rd and 2, you see in Jaishawn Barham work as an edge rusher right here. You talk about versatility, certainly has that. And you're going to see him dip and bend below this left tackle. I mean, this is a good left tackle for Illinois, right? Dips, bends below, and he's able to get into the backfield and make a play. He is a very, very fluid pass rusher, but he also can do it the way that Michigan wants you to do it, and that is blitzing those A and B gaps. How many times, especially in that Alabama game, did we see Junior Colson or Mikey Barrett be able to run kind of those A and B gaps and get home to the quarterback? Jaishawn Barham showing that ability as well. Again, a little bit of a delayed blitz here. You see the ability to close that distance extremely well. I really see Jaishawn Barham as kind of a chess piece in this Michigan defense. And when we talk about what makes Michigan's defense so special, it's about the versatility, about the amount of different things we can ask both our edge rushers, our linebackers, our safeties to do. And I think Jaishawn Barham comes in and kind of fits that versatility MO, because there is not a lot of things that Jaishawn Barham cannot do at an extremely high level.
And because, again, going back, like you've seen Michigan want to be able to do that. They want to be able to drop their defensive ends at time. They want to obviously be able to send their linebackers. I just don't think you've seen anybody with that cross kind of skill set that he has. I mean, defensive ends like Jalen Harrell, Braden McGregor, obviously very, very good defensive ends. not premier guys when they have to drop into space. I mean, solid, and they get the job done, I guess, but they're not Jaishawn Barham dropping into space. And then, I mean, Mike Barrett, he didn't have that in his game. Junior Colson wouldn't have had that play to just go win one-on-one matchups against really pretty solid Big Ten tackles. I mean, Jaishawn Barham, I just think really does combine those skill sets that Michigan wants to see, where you really can kind of play either spot and play it at the level you want to play it, not just as like a
and it's like not a shy. Many of you guys know, like Mikey Barrett's my guy, was one of my favorite all-time Michigan Wolverines. Him coming back, played phenomenal in 2023. But I mean, from an edge rusher standpoint, from a blitzing standpoint, he was a little bit capped, right? Jaishawn Barham, bigger. He's a little bit more explosive. He certainly has longer arms and better length. Jaishawn Barham gives you just a little bit of a higher upside from an athletic profile in blitzing at that linebacker position.
Well, because again, it's like Mike Barrett was a really, really good linebacker. He would not have been a really, really particularly good defensive end, obviously. And you can probably say the same thing about guys like McGregor and Harrell. Really, really good defensive ends would not have been particularly great.
Do you think Jaishawn Barham plays that much defensive end for Michigan?
No, but I'm just saying, when you want to use them on those third down packages Michigan likes to run, you want to have a guy who can seamlessly move from being in kind of on that edge and being able to drop in the coverage. I think you want to go both ways. And again, Michigan's done a really good job getting home on blitzes, but when you have a guy who uniquely blends that ability to not only just win one-on-one pass rush, but be able to drop in space and play really good there too, I think that does add a new element that Michigan hasn't really seen yet.
And 100%, especially with the potential question about the depth we have in that edge rusher room, right? I mean, we know we have Derek Moore. We know we have a guy like Josiah Stewart. Outside of that, it's all right. We like a lot of the young guys. We haven't seen a ton from the young guys. And a guy like Jaishawn Barham certainly can kick down on those third and longs and be a guy that can generate pressure off the edge. Extremely excited to see how Jaishawn Barham is used in this Wink Martindale scheme. Again, Dill, early next week, Kenny Grant, Mason Graham, is just going to be a bunch of film of absolute dominant interior defensive line play. Appreciate you guys, as always, rocking with the fellas. Again, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.